were supposed to go live today.
Well, for only for 2 shows though. There's more shows that
Yeah,
roll out each
but
day. Yeah.
Nobody got all the codes. The pre-sale codes were supposed to go out yesterday.
Oh,
and I had a group of maybe like 7 girls, and everybody there had like subsequent like 2 to 3 people that had also signed up for codes. None of us got one. And then at 9 a.m. this morning, when the tickets are supposed to go on sale at 11 a.m., StubHub has a bunch of tickets on sale for like $2,000. And we're like, interesting.
Welcome to another edition of the Racin It Out podcast. I'm Todd. She's Caitlin, complaining about not being able to get Taylor Swift tickets yet. Like I suspect many people are going to be for the next 14 months until the shows actually take place in Toronto. But at least she loves Canada now. She's going to come to Canada. And I know that so many were offended that there were no Canadian dates announced. I also heard a story that there may be more dates announced.
I've heard that as well. And I honestly hope they announce them sooner rather than later, because now all of Canada is trying to get these 6 codes or these 6 shows. And I'm mad.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? There's lots of opportunity between now and then to somehow find your way in. So all is not lost. It's just this opportunity will pass initially. And I get that. That's upsetting that you don't have a year necessarily to look forward to the show. But who's to say that some passes might not find their way into your hand at some point?
There's still another pre-sale next week. And then hoping that it doesn't, the general sale doesn't get kaplooied like it did in the US, then I'm hoping there's a general sale. But it was very funny last night where my friend was like, you know what? I didn't have the money for Taylor Swift tickets anyway.
See, there you go.
So,
but moving on, put it behind you, and who's to say something good doesn't happen in the future? Our apologies for not having a new episode sooner. It's been really busy, and I know that's not an excuse, but it's this is the reasoning is just we got slam banged with Toronto, the Western trip, and GP3R over the last few weeks, and it's just been super crazy nuts with travel and stuff. So we really apologize, and we make this pledge that going forward there will be regular scheduled podcasts coming. We'll commit to every other week, because we can't say it yet, but there's some news coming about the podcast that's good for everyone, and it's going to help us out too. So there's good things coming in the future. So
we have not given up on this podcast.
No, goodness gracious, no. Like when we started this, is like, this is just the beginning of a very long-term project, was how I was viewing it. So we're kind of got our feet under us now. And now we'll really start moving forward, I think. So I'm good. So let's go back, and I'm not sure. I was going to think about the West, but we really haven't talked about the Honda Indy Toronto yet, which was a sensational event. It was great. How about that crowd on the Friday in Toronto?
It was fantastic.
Unbelievable, sensational. So
I love having it on the Friday.
I like it too.
A lot of people still complain that they would rather have it on the Saturday. And it's this weird double-edged sword where you have people that are complaining that it's on a Friday, on a work day, nobody can take time off, but then you've got the grandstands full. Absolutely.
It's summertime, there are holidays, it's free Friday, everybody gets in without any admission charges, and it's really it's good. So I'm hoping it comes back and they do it again next year. And if you move it to Saturday, you get squished for track time because it is so busy the rest of the weekend. So you're paying the price, and the race is not going to be the feature event necessarily on Saturday. So enjoy the Friday.
Did you see that IMSA announced that their CTMP date is the exact same weekend that Honda Indy usually is?
Usually is.
Yeah, that's my caveat. Usually is, because there are people on social media freaking out of like, how dare they have it on the same weekend as Honda Indy and blah, blah, blah. The minds in the motorsports world know all. So if you have no track in Canada is going to double feature major events on the same day.
So a little additional information in that regard. Next year is going to get jumbled up a little bit in terms of the IndyCar schedule for a few reasons. First one is NBC is doing the Olympics next year, which means all hands on deck, all networks, all streams and everything is all Olympics all the time.
Everyone takes a 2-week break.
Well,
US.
there's a big going to be a big gap in terms of sporting events. NASCAR is going to be impacted by that. IndyCar is, so the schedule is adjusting. The Nashville race is no longer the first weekend in August in IndyCar. It is moving to the third weekend in September, I believe, 13th, 14th, 15th next year. It's the season finale next year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, how about that for a season-ending party, don't you think? So other schedules are going to be adjusted as well because of Olympics, because IMSA at CTMP is a little bit later than it has been. So don't freak out over the conflict yet. I don't think there's any need to. There's still some I's to dot, T's to cross before things are settled.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The reason why Pinty's doesn't get impacted by this is because the Olympics broadcaster for Canada is CBC.
They will be impacted in terms of television schedule potentially because the shows air on television on TSN, who may have some Olympic events, but that's just with schedule. That's not with live scheduling.
Right.
That's with live stream will still happen, but it's the television show that airs the week after that may be impacted somewhat.
Right. So, but my only thing in that was, so I know CBC in Canada is like Canada's home for the Olympic Games and the Olympic sports and stuff like that, like NBC is in the States.
Sure.
So that's my only like questioning of like NBC literally cannot air any NASCAR races during that window.
They don't have time.
They don't have windows.
Right.
So they're like, okay, every 4 years, every 4 years you have to take a break. It's the only time. So if we were on CBC, we would probably have that same issue. But yeah, that was just my questioning. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy. But
so there you go.
There you go.
Yes. Races out west, both sensational. Huge props to the teams and the drivers for running 300 laps in Edmonton and 250 laps at Saskatoon with a total of 4 caution flags. They were awesome. And I was a bit concerned about it, but I think they did great. So huge props to all the teams. And I'll say it again, first lap, corner 2 incident aside, 30 cars at GP3R. Yeah, there was some stuff, but it could have been a lot worse and it could have been a lot more. But I think everybody did a great job. And I cannot stress enough how much I enjoy that event.
GP3R is the best. The amount of times in the last 10 laps that I heard blue flag, corner, whatever, and I went, because I thought a late race caution was coming to Justin Arsenault spinning out in turn 3. I was like, this is gonna be a disaster. But
it wasn't. So there was a lot of action, which is kind of the consensus I got from everyone is the first half of the race is going to have a lot of action and it's going to settle down in the second half. And that's exactly what happened. So yeah, it was really good. So
that turn 2,
the launch,
1,
the video clip will forever be known as the launch. As Kevin Lacroix goes flying through the air and over and on top of the 27 of Andrew Ranger. And boy, oh boy, that was spectacular to watch. It was also good to see both of them climb out okay.
I freaked out the second I saw them coming through the bridge. Like this is of the green flag. Props to Matthew Murnahan.
Yeah.
Credit to him. This is his photo. And I saw the top 4 spread out and I was like, this isn't going to be good. And then I saw them come in and looked at how chaotic it all was. And I was like,
yeah,
this isn't going to be good.
You can watch the video over and over again. And just, I don't know how many, a dozen times I've seen it each day since it happened. And it's been something special. So, but yeah, great event. I was trying to think of, because I've had people ask me, why do you like GP3R so much? Why is it so special? And so it's the event, it's the history of over 50 years. This was the 53rd. It's the way the whole town comes alive, embraces it. The main street downtown is all closed off. It's restaurants and stuff like that. I think you and I said this to each other, and I know that numerous others did to me on over the weekend is, oh yeah, oh well, I'll see you downtown tonight. And you can say that to someone, and chances are you may run into them or a group. It's that kind of an atmosphere is where you want to get out, you want to be part of it, and it's special and fun. And it's not surprising if you just say, oh, I'll see you downtown. You don't have to line up a time or a place. You'll just find each other there.
You're probably just going to run in. The only other event on the schedule now that is like that is Newfoundland.
Yes, true enough.
It's like,
which is why it's becoming such a significant event so quickly.
Mm-hmm. It's not only is the series putting in the infrastructure to have more events downtown,
mm-hmm.
It's just a fun place to be.
Well, and it's the town and the people embracing it too, is welcoming. It's like, hey, let's do some special things with this. And I think that's a real fun part of it. The other thing with GPR is inevitably there is a story or two of something unusual that happens. It's just, that's just GP3R, and that's just the way things happen. So I'll tell you mine from this year, or one of them from this year, is I had to break into the announce booth this year. So, and this is Saturday after the racing is all done. So because Dave Bradley and I were also calling the English feed, Dave mostly, I just helped out here and there, but Dave's calling the English feed for the live stream for all of the other races that are taking place. So at the end of the day on Saturday, I was working at pit lane for the Urban Challenge race. And I went back up to the announce booth to say, yeah, I'm going to grab all my stuff. And I had to go back to our base camp in the Pinty's garage area. So I'll just leave my backpack and everything here, and I'll collect it on the way out when we leave and go over the bridge that you can see behind me or behind Caitlin with the GP3R sign. Go to the Pinty's garage, gather up my stuff there, go back, and the building into where the announce booth is dead bolted and padlocked. Well, this is a problem because my backpack with my computer, phone charger, and my life is inside that building, and I should really have it that night. So I'm trying to find someone. Somebody's calling. The head of the production crew is calling. I think we found someone. They're going to send a message. They're going to call me back. So I went around and I went back to one of the access points again. And I looked at it and it's like, I just kind of gave it a little tug, and I thought, it's not really the strongest deadbolt and padlock. And I huffed and I puffed and I yanked and ripped the door open and went back inside, got my backpack and yelled out, "We're good. I got my stuff," and closed the door and left at that point. So yes, it was me doing the B&E at GP3R.
Do you want me to clip that, or are you going to be arrested?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Statute of limitations is passed. It's fine.
Oh, there are no cameras. You can't prove I actually did it.
Exactly.
Even though I confessed.
That's fine. So anyhow, but that's one of the things that happens at GP3R. That makes it the fun experience this year. So yeah, that's the story.
I don't think I had any wild things like that happen besides, like, I think every single person I knew just had problems with security, which is par for the course at GP3R. But just
sometimes it happens.
Yeah, that is.
I thought you'd enjoy that one.
Todd Lewis, everyone, the felon.
That's right. You know, take me away in handcuffs. So, but that was good. So yeah, it was great. So we've got the days now, and we're looking ahead to the Pinty's double dip at Ohsweken in the dirt on the 14th and 15th. I'm curious about this. Yeah, I'm curious about this for a few reasons. Schrader's racing, Friesen's racing. I'm curious about this too, because you and I weren't there last year. Because we had
COVID yet.
So no, all good. So I'm curious about this to experience it for the second year and what it's like. And I'm also curious about the two races back to back, both on dirt. I don't know if it's going to be too much of a good thing or how that's going to fly. And there's reasons why the schedule landed that way, and we won't get into that now. We'll talk about other schedule stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's there's reasons why, and I'm just curious, as I think this is probably a one-year wonder where you have two races like that back to back.
Yeah, I can say that it's like, it was not the initial plan to have the two races back to back. But for scheduling reasons, obviously it was made the most sense. And yeah, I imagine I don't think this will happen again, mostly because I think a lot of the teams are nervous about it.
Sure.
Because if your car gets completely, you're having to prep basically a backup dirt car, which is a very expensive feat for a lot of teams. So any team that is really going to try and go out there for a win and wants to run both races or championship racing, because I mean, look at Mark or Trayton or Tags or anyone in the top 5 that are really gunning for points right now. If you get demolished in that first race Monday night, you just need a second car. You don't have any time to go and fix anything, and you want as raceable of a car as you can for Tuesday.
Yeah, it presents some challenges. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully everything runs smoothly on Monday and then again on Tuesday, and we have good racing, and it's exciting for both. So, but yes, we won't dwell on that part of the schedule too much. So I will dive into some of the rampant rumors and speculation that are surfacing again. Caitlin is taking a step back from this, because I will just tell you some of the things I've heard and some of the other speculation. Because of course, when we were in Quebec for GP3R, the hornet's nest of will the Cup Series be coming to Montreal gets whacked and starts to stir things up again. It's being talked about. It's being discussed. It is by no stretch of the imagination a slam dunk. It's a possibility, but there's a lot of other factors that go into it. If it does happen, if it happens, you heard me say, if it happens, yes, expect the Pinty series to be a support series race. It would be perfect. It would be wonderful. My best speculation is it will happen in August, but that too is not a guarantee. We will see if it even happens. They may just go back to Chicago and do a street race there and not do one in Montreal in 24. Might kick it to 25. That is also a possibility. We'll know more in about a month, I would say. Okay, I'm done, Caitlin. You can come back in now.
That's my arm workout for the day. Thank you.
There you go. So, but the championship, some are saying, is already done.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so either. Oh, not even close. No, not even close.
We like to push the Western swing, at least on my front, as the make or break for the championship. And Trayton Lapsevich most definitely made a name for himself in this championship fight, sweeping Saskatoon. But so did Mark. Mark has shown himself, not even at GP3R, but at Edmonton alone, as Trayton's like strongest adversary for this season.
Yes.
We're forgetting, yes, Trayton won Osweekend last year. Mark won the pole, and I believe he was also fastest in practice. We still got 5 races to go.
Yeah.
2 dirt.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. I'm sorry, until we hit, I want to say after ICAR, I'm not calling a champion.
Oh no. Yeah. That's probably the earliest you would do it.
Trayton has a nice little cushy lead. That cushy lead, as we've seen at GP3R, Mark finished first. Trayton finished what, 6th? That's not a bad finish.
Absolutely.
But when your adversary is finishing first pretty much almost as often as you are, it's a tight race. And
neck and neck.
We're forgetting that Cameron was penalized. He lost 18 points. This is supposed to be a much closer fight. Now, those points are most likely not coming back. He's already lost. He lost his appeal. They aren't. My understanding is they're not appealing again.
Yeah, I believe that window's closed.
Yeah, that window, I think when we made the announcement, they had until Friday after that announcement to appeal the appeal. And I think my understanding is they chose not to.
Right.
It's just not worth the financially. This is supposed to be a much closer championship fight than it is. It's between Mark and Trayton right now, and I think they equally have the same amount of chances to win this. And it can be very easily lost at Ohsweken. It can be very easily lost at ICAR. It can be lost at any point. For all we know, we could be going into Delaware neck and neck.
We'll have a big field at CTMP too.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the reason I say after ICAR is because we'll have a much better idea mathematically.
Yes.
Heading out of ICAR and into the final 2 races, what our championship situation scenarios will look like. Whereas right now, there are just so many variables that it's 5 races to go. You have absolutely no idea. Triton could sweep both Ohsweken races. Friesen could sweep both Ohsweken races. We just don't know. We will have a very different conversation about this championship battle pre-post CTMP.
Okay. We'll table that until then. Okay, so I got 2 more things on my list that I thought we would discuss today. Let's do the funny, silly one to close, and let's do the serious one now. And that is Noah Gragson, who has been first suspended by Legacy Motorsports and subsequently suspended by NASCAR,
and has now also been let go from Legacy Motorsports because that's
that was I haven't seen the announcement from Legacy saying that, but he's suspended. And apparently that's in the works as well, because he apparently liked a meme on social media that disparaged the death of George Floyd. I'm not sure how someone in his position who's old enough to know better doesn't know better, is my first thought on this. And that's the puzzling part to me. Now, the other part of this too is that there's always instant outrage, and people are ready to go and be offended immediately. And understandably, that can be upset about this one because it was a dumb, stupid, and ridiculous thing to do. But it actually reconfirms my belief of something I read several years ago about social media, which is if you're using it, treat it like a gun, because that's how quickly it can impact you. And that's not to say people don't deserve a second chance. And I'll immediately cite Kyle Larson as someone who has come back from a horrible incident that he regretted immediately and has returned to a very successful career. But it's just, I don't know how you make a mistake sound so dismissive of how significant his action is, but that's what he did.
So before we get into the actual suspension of this, I had a couple of interesting conversations about the different scenarios that play out. And one of those scenario conversations we were having was actually about Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson was suspended. He had to undergo sensitivity training and diversity training and all this to prove that he was eligible to come back to NASCAR. And I think that is completely fair. The interesting part of it that I was brought up was this was actually pre-George Floyd. So there was a question that we had in our conversation, in the conversation I had with my friends, which was, are we in a different world now when in regards to things like that? And I said, absolutely. The way we as a society should look at using derogatory terms and profanity like that and memeing like that it's a automatic no. The other interesting part of it that we brought up was one person asked, like, what is the difference between somebody liking this post, like Noah did, and a meme about OceanGate, which happened, which I don't think we've even talked about because that was also a whole ridiculous point of the summer. But, it's one of those, there was a lot of memes coming out about OceanGate that were kind of, I'm going to hell memes if I like this, but but
there's questionable tasteless versus obscene bigotry.
Yeah. And that's where the difference lied for me was, yes, people lost their, because there's a lot of people on social media that are sitting there going, well, somebody lost their life. And it's like, yes, but people also lost their life in OceanGate. So what's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
The difference is what each death stood for. One was fueled by racism, fueled by bigotry, and then subsequently also caused riots and a whole movement to really come to the surface, while OceanGate, while in of itself sad, felt a lot more like a distraction.
Yes. The circumstances, you're right. The circumstances are extremely different between those two stories and those two cases. And it sort of, I don't know if I'm trying to compare it to the right thing or not, but I've had discussions with people before too about, are there things you cannot be? I think one of the most important characteristics you can have is a sense of humor, and a good sense of humor. And I've had the conversations of, is there anything that you can't joke about or can't make fun of? And my immediate response is no. There is always, and I mean, people use it as a coping device for death and tragedy and all the rest of it. And I understand that. But this is different than a stand-up comedian doing a routine about the George Floyd murder versus someone who makes or puts out an asinine meme and someone else who jumps on and likes it.
And that was the thing for me too, is it's like that, and that difference, that example you gave is actually very good, of somebody that who is most likely very, very mentally intelligent, doing a very thought out, put together skit in a comedy sketch about some aspect of the George Floyd murder versus a very low hanging fruit, low intelligent meme.
Yes.
On Instagram. Now, in regards to the suspension, do I think what Noah did is as bad at, let's say, what, and this is something I've seen thrown around on social media, Cody Ware did? I'm not 100, and here's the thing. I think Legacy can do whatever they want with their driver. If they want to suspend him, if they don't think he's living up to their standards as a driver, they can do whatever they want, whatever the hell they want with them. The difference for me in NASCAR suspending Noah is the way it was worded. And for all we know, it could actually be this, and it was just worded differently for some reason. It made it seem like there was no room for reconciliation. It was just, he's indefinitely suspended. There was no clause in there that was, he broke this rule, he's indefinitely suspended until he completes sensitivity training, diversity training, and such and such.
Part of that may be because they're still gathering information and we don't have all the details yet. And I'm not sure that anyone has all the details as of yet. So, but in the meantime, you're indefinitely suspended, and that's the right that's the right course of action. So, and I'd be very interested in learning more about what the sensitivity training involved for Kyle Larson in his case, or for what may be the case here for in this particular instance. But I mean, is it, do you complete the online course like you do for a, I don't know, a boating license, where you can have the book open in front of you, or is like how does that work? I'd be interested in knowing more about that in terms of what we're trying to accomplish.
And not to, put like Kyle Larson on the spot, but I would be very interested to hear his experience through this, because he hasn't really talked a lot about it, of having this, because I think at the end of the day, it's like, he did make a mistake. I think social media, and like you said, and I think it's a very good lesson to learn, is treat social media like a loaded gun, where we're in this mindset of, it's this, my boyfriend and I call it perfectly stimulated nothingness, where you can just go numb on social media, liking and scrolling and whatever. And I know personally, there has been times I have, started watching a video and liked it and scrolled and then gone, wait a second, I don't know if I actually align with that video is trying, the message that video or photo or meme or whatever is trying to send. So I go back and I reread it and I rewatch it, and then I go and then I make a decision on it. We are very much in this cycle of just liking and scrolling on social media. So I understand how a mistake like that happens.
Yes,
I have other questions about how.
So, I want to see where this goes, but I think we're in a unique time. Okay, so that was the heavy issue. Now we'll wrap up on the fun issue that I sent you this. I sent you the note about is.
So tell me more.
I love this, that at the Vegas race coming up on the Cup Series, Busch Beer is doing a promotion, or Busch Light, I believe, is doing a promotion that involves a couple getting married during one of Kevin Harvick's pit stops in Las Vegas. So this is going to be like the speed ceremony of the century to take place. The funniest comment I think I heard or read on social media was this was obviously conceived during the 5 lug nut era because it would take longer to do the 5 lug nuts than it does the single. But I think this is super funny. I also think they should follow it up by getting divorced at a later pit stop during the race. Just complete the cycle. I think it would be hilarious. Let's have fun with this.
I was going to make a joke of whatever the next step in marriage is, but
man, that's right. Yes, maybe. I love that. So, maybe you need the whole pit stop, maybe you don't. So that's
when does this time actually officially start? From the second he hits pit road to the second he ends, or the second he's in his pit stop?
Haven't seen the official rules, but you know what? Good for them for having some fun with it, generating some interest. Exactly right. It's and have a sense of humor about it. And does it surprise you that this is something that you would find in Las Vegas? No. So move forward.
If anything, congratulations to Las Vegas for finding a different way to get married.
I love that. I think that's a super funny, super fun thing to do.
So goofy.
Okay, that's a good light note to end this podcast on. The views, opinions, ideas, suggestions, realistic or completely wacky, are those of Todd and Caitlin and do not represent views of NASCAR Pinty Series, NASCAR and TSN, Fuel Media, Rev TV, any other series, sanctioning body, corporate entity, or mega company that we may or may not work with in the future. Got it?
Got it. Did you want to drop rapid fire food stories? Or shall we save that for another time?
Let's do a whole episode on food.
I'm in.
Let's do a whole episode. It'll probably be a shorter one, but let's plan to do
but
right after Busch Weekend. We'll do a whole episode on our food stories over the next month.
We'll start off with Busch Weekend, but you know what? In the meantime, ask us your food questions.
There you go. Love it.
What kind of food do we like? What kind of cuisine is our favorite? What is our favorite thing to make, to bake? Do we have any disastrous? I think I'm just giving us all the questions for it. So I'll just have to go back when I'm editing this. Do we have any disastrous food cooking stories?
And send us food recos as well for places that you think we should go.
Always.
All right. Good stuff.
All right. Cheers. Well, this has been another edition of the Racing It Out podcast. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, YouTube. I'm trying to think of the iHeartRadio music. Basically anywhere you can find your podcasts.
There you go.
We'll see you next time.